yeah, I feel like you could kind of get the best of both worlds, you know.
Yeah.
One of the great things about this, as we talked about earlier, flexibility. So you're getting to be flexible with your schedule and choose when you want to do the other things that are important.
Welcome to the Other 99% podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Duck, a coffee loving direct sales enthusiast who's obsessed with a good digital system. Come join me for a realistic look into the world of direct sales. We'll explore inspiring perspectives, learn about unique business tips, and celebrate success stories that often go untold. Because on the other 99%, every seller matters. Hey everyone, it is me, Lisa, and welcome back to another episode of the Other 99%. I'm here with Susan Larimer and our guest, Cindy Ortiz. And we're just going to jump in, Cindy. And I want you to tell the listeners a little bit about you and sort of what direct sales look like before, or what, not direct sales, but what your life looked like before you jumped into direct sales.
Well, thank you for having me, ladies. Before direct sales, I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband worked a lot, traveled some. And when I first started in direct sales, he was just starting to travel with his company. Um, and so after we had our twins in 2000, it just kind of became obvious that I needed to stay home. So really, I was just a full-time stay-at-home mom, taking care of four kids. We lived in Virginia at the time, um, and before direct sales, I think it was the extra money. Like I was looking for extra money and um, community. Community is a big thing, big part of it.
So is that what sort of made you take the leap into direct sales? Was the fact that you were looking for something to stay at home but still earn income?
Yes, yeah, the flexibility with direct sales and what I saw and looked like. I mean, they were people were having fun,
Hmm.
and I also jumped in direct sales with not with the intent to really do much of a business. I jumped in for because I wanted the products, I wanted the discount, and so when I realized I could make a little extra money and people were interested in what the products, then it was kind of a no-brainer to jump in and go ahead and give it a try. I figured why not?
So share a little bit like your direct sales journey, because I know you've been with multiple companies. So give us
Hmm.
like what was your first intro to direct sales to where you are now?
Funny thing is that when I think about it, my very first company was scrapbooking. I jumped in, and that was
Is that
way
creative
before I had the.
memories
It
or
was Creative Memories. Yeah,
yes. Oh my
I went
gosh.
in, I did Creative Memories, and then after I started doing it, I found out I had so many people that because we had just moved to Virginia a couple years before I started doing that, and I found out so many of my friends were either into scrapbooking, already consultants with Creative Memories, and that's how I sort of got into that, and so it was that, and then when I quit doing that, as the kids got older, I just didn't have as much time, and businesses and companies change, and so I eventually landed with Lemongrass Spa, and that was in 2015. And so by then, the twins were almost 15 years old, and and that that was probably the first one that I actually took seriously, and just and things just really kind of took off with that company.
And then where are you now? You're currently with.
So yeah, so I actually about I guess it's probably about 4 years ago, I joined a health and wellness company and thought I would add that to my lemongrass spa. We had moved back to Texas. Um, I thought I would add the Viseo was the name of that company, and that was a health and wellness company, and decided to kind of put the two together and try to do them both. And things with lemongrass had started to slow down because we had moved, and even COVID, the time that we all went through COVID, everything just changed. So I um, tried the health and wellness, and eventually that company closed and rebranded as a new company. And I think all of that change it was just too much chaos for me.
Mhm.
And I tried to do that business and keep it all going with lemongrass. And eventually, that quit working for me. That I just the people and the community just sort of fell apart. It just sort of fizzled out and fell apart. And when the one closed and it reopened, people didn't go with us, and it just sort of just changed a lot. And at the time, my skin also changed, and it got to where the products with lemongrass just weren't working anymore. Going, getting older and hormones and menopause and all those things, my skin changed, and I had to find something else. And that's when Ramon entered. I saw friends that were with me in health and wellness had moved over to that company also, and eventually I decided to give it a try, and it was working, and I loved it. And so I made the decision just last summer to close my lemongrass spa business and actually resign
Mm-hmm.
and start with Ramon. So that's where I'm at now.
Awesome. So, I mean, you were saying in there that, the community started to fizzle and things just weren't
Mhm.
working. I
Mhm.
mean, some people at that point probably would have quit and just walked away.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what actually kept you going?
So actually, the funny part is that I really thought I was done. I really wasn't planning to do anything else. But again, community, people, and I loved the people that um, the that I was in Ramon with. I loved the people that were sharing, and um, I thought so many times about quitting even before I started health and wellness. Just every time something happened, you didn't reach a goal or you just had a negative experience of some kind, you just sort of I just would think about quitting. Um, but then the person who introduced me to Ramon, I just loved her. And and so I decided I was going to do one more thing, give it
Hmm.
one more go. And the thing I love about her is she's not pushy. She's not you gotta do all the things, and you gotta be doing this and this. She's like, Cindy, you do what you want to do. Like,
Hmm.
I just want to have fun. I want people to be successful. And that to me is really important. And again, that community aspect, having people around you that are supportive and pushing you, and but not being pushy,
Yeah.
like, there's
Yeah.
Encouraging you.
encouraging. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about direct sales. It's very different than any other 9 to 5 job in that you
hmm
have such an amazing community, not just with your team, but with your
hmm
customers and other direct sellers. It's such a
yeah,
unique industry to be in. I don't think you have
yeah.
that in another job where you go like to an office 9 to 5. You have
hmm
your office people, and that might be it.
hmm Well, I think too, I mean, Susan, you and I were like tracking on the same,
Yeah.
everything with lemongrass. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for lemongrass, I wouldn't have met you. And if it wasn't for
Mhm.
Modern Direct Seller, I wouldn't know Lisa. And, that is huge, being able to
Yeah.
meet other, I don't know, like-minded, you know, women who have all different, we all have our own stories, you
Hmm.
know? So
For
yeah,
sure. For sure.
So you travel a lot. You are in a
I
hotel
do.
right now. You
Uh-huh.
have kids all over the country. So how do you keep your business going? How do you keep your motivation going? How do you manage your schedule and balance business and family
Mhm.
because you are such a busy mom? And share a little bit about,
Yeah.
where your
Yeah.
kids are,
Yeah.
why you're so busy and all that.
So I have four kids who are right now, they're technically in two states. For a while, they were in four states. So we have two kids that played football in college and are still playing now. I have grandkids. And I mean, I just came home from a 5 month stint. I'll call it a 5 month stint where I was actually babysitting my youngest granddaughter, who was 3 months old when I started doing that in Virginia. And during that 5 months, there's a big difference in, not having anything that you really have to do every day. And then going from that to watching a 3 month old baby for 10 hours a day,
Hmm.
so what I would say is, you have to control what you can. and when you can. And you can't feel guilty about the times that you think you should work your business, but you can't. And that 5 months is a perfect example of that because I'd I'd be finished with babysitting, and I'd be tired.
Mhm.
I would still try to jump on a Zoom, or I'd still try to talk to customers and try to do the things, but for the most part, it was not a priority for me. And the one thing I've learned with all the travel that I do, and this past weekend, another great example, we had family in town. Our boys play in this spring league, professional league, and they played against each other for the first time.
Oh,
I
that's fun.
hardly looked. Yeah, it was great. And we had family in town, friends in town. I hardly looked at, you know, my phone, my messages, emails, anything. And I don't feel guilty about that. And I think that is what gets me through the times where I didn't hit a goal, but I chose to make those things a priority. And
Mhm.
I'm totally okay with that because that is what drives me. And that is what, having them all over the place. I take advantage of when I'm available and when I'm with them, um, or even friends, traveling for whatever. I mean, um, it's just, and you just can't feel guilty about it. You can't beat yourself up when you
Yeah.
can't work.
If you
And I think so many of us struggle with that.
Yeah, if you worked for a company with a boss, you would not
Hmm.
be able to have that
Yeah.
flexibility in time. And,
Yeah.
that's another thing I love
Absolutely.
about direct sales is you make your own schedule. If things fall
Absolutely.
off, it's okay. There's no punishment. I mean, you might not make
Hmm.
enough money that day or as much money that day, but you get to
Yeah.
have that family time, which is a huge motivator for me too.
Yeah. I feel like you get kind of get the best of both worlds, you know.
Yeah.
One of the great things about this, as we talked about earlier, flexibility. So you're getting to be flexible with your schedule and choose when you want to do the other things that are important.
Yep.
And I mean, for me, it's just a no-brainer to, you know, I would not trade the 5 months I just spent and didn't do much with my business. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
N- So I want to ask you a question. You know that I'm a big systems person and I'm tools person. And I want to know if there was like a specific strategy or system or tool that you've recently started using that is transforming the way that you do your business.
Um, probably so many things because it's taken me a while to really kind of figure out what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to do or use, what I'm willing to pay for, that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I know in the last 3 or 4 months, I mean, Chat GPT has been huge for me. Um, and I didn't even realize what a valuable tool it was until I started playing with it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Um,
was a little against it in the beginning. I'm like,
Me
this
too.
is cheating, and but
Me
now
too.
now it's my
Mm-mm.
best friend.
Well, which is kind of crazy, Susan, because he kind of is your best friend.
I
Like
know he knows
literally
a
knows
lot
you.
about me.
Yeah. I mean, just general information, but I think for me, it's been joining the Modern Direct Seller and meeting so many people who have so much to offer because you have support and knowledge in so many different things. And, even I mean, I never thought I would put a website out there. And thanks to, you, Lisa, and ChatGPT and Becky and Jeremy and all the patience everybody's had with me, it's out there and learning that. I mean, to me, it's just taking advantage of the knowledge and skills that people have that they're willing to help you and share with you.
Yeah, and when you have your own website too, I mean, you even though you change companies, you just revamp the pictures and
Yeah.
the verbiage, and
Yeah.
your website stays with you no matter
Yeah.
where your direct sales journey takes you.
And that's exactly what I've been able to do.
Yeah,
I literally went through and just you know, changed pictures and some of the words and products and things like that. Yeah.
yeah,
So to me, that's the biggest, again, community, finding
hmm
that community. And I know, Modern Direct Seller isn't necessarily a Ramon thing or a lemongrass thing or anything, but what they have to offer is, I mean, to me, it's invaluable.
Is there anything that you would do differently on your direct sales journey? Or any advice you would give to someone who's thinking, maybe I want to try direct sales?
Um, Jump in and take it seriously and just do it. Because I think had I done that in the beginning, I might maybe would have reached different levels or higher levels or um obviously my journey's been it's it's obviously my journey, and I know I never intended to change companies, and that, but that even though that's what I'd done, I think had I taken it more seriously back then, maybe my skills would be stronger, like whether it's leadership or speaking, to people, all the
Hmm.
different things that you learn along the way. This for me has been a very, life, um, having a life, finding someone who can help with as a life coach for me through people I knew in direct sales was key just to me personally. And I think um, because I think before I did that life coaching, the whole idea of not feeling guilty was not even, I mean, I always felt guilty. And so that was something I learned, but that was somebody I met through, people in the academy or other, even in other businesses. So I think I would take it more seriously and really commit to whatever that, whether it's a jumpstart program or whatever your company has to offer to help you, just taking advantage of that and the leaders that are there to help build you up.
Awesome. Now, probably from listening to the podcast that I always ask my guests for either a piece of advice or a favorite quote that you think every direct seller needs to hear. Do you have something to share?
Yes. So early on in my lemongrass career, there had an in-house trainer, and I remember I was talking to her one day and just you know to get help, and she said, "Don't take it personally."
Mm.
And that really stuck with me in the sense of somebody tells you no, don't take it personally. You're just offering the cup of coffee. You're just offering,
The
asking them a
desserts.
question. Yeah, the
Yeah.
dessert, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. But don't take it personally because they're not telling you personally no. They're telling you no, they don't want the coffee or they don't want the dessert or whatever it is. And so that is probably, I mean, that's really stuck with me. And then my favorite quote is really my husband's favorite quote, and it's the one he's was instilled in him by his high school football coach, and he's handed it to our family and our kids. Our kids all live by it. Is what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And I wasn't a believer in that for a long time. I was like, oh, you're just, like you're just, I just wasn't really a believer until I um, sort of put it to use without realizing that's what I was doing. And it was the first time I earned an incentive trip with Lemongrass Spa, when I went through that whole, 4 or 5 months, whatever it was, and then actually earned it. And looking back, I was like, well, I actually did do exactly what he said, you know? And so it was, to me, I learned that's very powerful. And
Yeah.
we still live, like I said, our family still lives by that today.
I
That's
love it.
So where can everybody find you? Are you on Instagram? Where do you hang out? And tell us your website so we can go check you out there.
All right. So, as mentioned earlier, the website, it's cindyortiz.net. And you can find some blogs there and some of my favorite things, a little more about me. I have a Facebook group, and you can find me on Facebook, Cindy Elizabeth Ortiz. My Facebook group is Radiant Glow Collective, and then Instagram, it's Cindy_E_Ortiz.
And I
Awesome.
think that's a good point. That's why I love making websites your name and not
Yeah.
your company's name or not even a specific product or theme because
Hmm.
cindyortiz.net, I mean, you can find whatever you change to be, that's
Right.
your website. You don't have to change the
Yeah.
name. So I think that's so
Right.
smart. We've all done that.
And do you
Yeah.
have all
Yeah.
your Instagram and your Facebook linked in your website?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. So
Awesome.
definitely they can just go to my website. Yep. And find it all there.
One
Awesome.
stop
Yes.
shop.
We will make
Mhm.
sure that we link that in the show notes. But all right,
Awesome.
Cindy. I thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're in transition. You're waiting in a hotel lobby as we speak for your room. It was a little challenging, but I think this works out fine. The
Awesome.
audio might be a little off, but our listeners will definitely take away a lot of information that you shared today. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And I invite everyone else to join us on next week's episode of The Other 99%. Take care, everyone. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would take a minute to rate and review the podcast, I would absolutely love it. And if you know someone who really needs to hear this podcast, please feel free to share it with them. More listeners, the better. And if you know someone who would like to be a guest on the podcast, or you yourself would like to be a guest, be sure to check the link in the show notes or visit lisaduck.com and click Be a Guest. We'll talk to you soon.